Hello and welcome to this short video that will show you how to log into the Netlabs system that you've been given access to, probably during the COVID-19 outbreak or possibly just during the class at Stanley Community College. Many of you are new students who are just getting access to a Netlabs system, so I wanted to walk you through how to log in and how to make a reservation. To begin with, your instructor will share with you the URL of the system you will be using. In this case, I am on netlabs.stanley.edu. Some of you may be on oll.stanley.edu, okay? But each one of these are separate systems with separate user accounts, so please be aware that you will need to go to the system that is correct for your instructor in his or her classes. I'm going to log in as my student account, KFC student. I'm going to log into the system in Netlabs, okay? Once logged in, you will see an interface such as this. I will click on schedule and schedule a lab for myself. Your instructor may have enabled team reservations, but at this time, more than likely, you've just got reservations for yourself. So click schedule lab for myself. I then pick a class that I am a part of. You will probably only be a part of a single class. In my case, my student account is in many different classes. So I'm going to click on this Florence Career Center's ITN version 6. So it's the Introduction to Networks version 6. I will click there, and then you will see the list of all the labs that are available for Introduction to Networks version 6. If you're in Introduction to Networks version 7, you will see the version 7 labs. If you're in CyberOps, you'll see CyberOps, so on and so forth. So I'm going to pick a lab here. I'm going to click on using, actually I was doing building a switch and router network. This will now show me the pods that are available. These pods, these map with ASA pods, are older pods using the 2900 series routers that are designated for our version 6 curriculums. If you don't see this, if you see MAP or MAP or multi-purpose pods, those are the pods for our new version 7. Either way, you'll see the pods and what is available. You also notice this red line. This red line is the current time. So this is the time right now, which is 1:27. If you click right here, it will begin the reservation right now at this current time. You also have the option when you schedule, and this is very important, especially since we're adding a large number of new students to the system, and there are going to be probably some resource contention on the system because we're going to have a great number of students trying to get into our system. Please note that if you know you're going to have time Friday during the day, well, that's in the past, but Friday on the 20th during the day, you can go to Friday and you can schedule anytime during that day. So I can do a future reservation, say at 1 p.m. on Friday. The maximum reservation is 4 hours. I would suggest for most of your Cisco labs, you can do them in 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. I'm just going to do a reservation for 2 hours and 20 minutes and click submit. And you will now see, when I go back to my main page, that I have a reservation in the future. So I have a reservation for Friday the 20th at 1 o'clock to 3:30. Now, if I wanted to do a reservation right now, that's going to be a little bit difficult at times because, again, we are adding a large number of users to our system. A couple things to be aware of. First off, if all of these pods were in use, there is an additional pod. You can click here and you'll see additional pod 19. You also notice that as we click this on the version 7 pods, there are actually 7 pods available with minimum 5 more coming online in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm going to set up a reservation for right now, so I'm going to click right on the red line if I can get there. And I'm going to do a reservation for up to 2.5 hours. That's all I'm going to do this one for. Now, I want to make you aware of something. If you find out you've scheduled this lab on Friday, and you suddenly find out that for some reason you cannot do this lab, please log in to Netlabs and cancel the reservation. So let me show you this again. If I'm at home, I've got a future reservation scheduled for Friday. I thought I was going to have time, but I'm not going to. Please go in and cancel that reservation. If you don't, that pod will boot up and those resources will be unavailable to other students. And right now, we really need these resources to be utilized effectively. Once you do have the time for your particular reservation come up, you can click Enter Lab, and you will see the lab topology for the lab you are going to complete. You will also see, and this is extremely, extremely important, the Content tab. When I click on this Content tab, you'll see these words right here. This lab has been updated for use on NetLab Plus. If you download the 6512 lab documents from netacad.com and try to use those documents in a Netlabs lab, they may or may not work. A great example of this is Introduction to Networks version 7. There's a lab that has a wired and wireless networks. Well, that lab is in Netlabs, but all of the wireless network part of the lab has been removed. So make sure when you're doing the labs inside of Netlabs, you use the lab documents from the Content tab. Also be aware that as you're looking here, so on this topology, if I wanted to access switch 1, I can click on it and it will take me directly to switch 1. Also, and you see there's switch 1 booting. This is real gear, by the way. It's not simulation, so it's really real gear. And click on R1, and R1 is booting. It's in the process of booting. If you get this, it says R1 is ignoring your keyboard inputs. This is because the system is still booting. It takes, even once you're able to get inside of the pod itself, it takes around 5 to 8 minutes for a pod to fully boot. And so I can click on the PCs, and the PCs have booted already. So PCA, PCB. Now you'll notice all of the PCs are shown, but this lab only uses PCA and PCB. But at this point, the router's has not finished booting, and the switch has not finished booting. So that's what's happening when you see this interface saying it's ignoring your input because the system's performing automated operations. So it's very important you give it time to boot completely. So again, here's the router booting. And I'm going to pause the video for a second while that is taking place. Okay, now that the routers and switches have booted, you will see that we have a normal router. I got to click inside of the router here. Normal router. It has all the normal commands that you would see. This is a 2900 series router running version 15.4 of the iOS, because this is a pod for our version 6 classes that we are supporting. Likewise, you'll see there's a switch here, and the switch is, type in the right command, 2960 switch with version 15 of the software. So at this point, you would be ready to start completing your lab. And once you are finished, it is very important that you don't just close out your browser, because if you've got a 2-hour reservation and you complete the lab in 1 hour and 30 minutes or 1 hour 10 minutes, if you don't end your reservation, you will have those resources being used when you're not actually completing anything on the lab. So please, when you complete a lab, make sure you go reservation, end reservation now, and I'll be doing that in just a second to show you what happens. If, however, there's another item we have here, if you end up with 2 hours and 12 minutes, the last 10 minutes of any reservation is actually used to clean the pod up and reset everything to a blank state for the next student. If you get to the point where you're running out of time and cannot complete the lab, we have given you the option to request one extension, okay? So I don't have that set. I'll actually change that for the community, but you'll be actually do an extension, and we'll get a little more time on your reservation. Once again, make absolutely sure when you're doing the lab, you're using the content from the Content tab, because it has been updated for Netlabs. I hope this helps you during this very pressing time, and I hope everyone stays safe and well. Again, click End Reservation now. And when the reservation is ended, we'll take you back to your main page, and we'll show you no longer have any reservations because that reservation has been closed.